Hello, hi guys. This is CA Balakrishna from Lecturepedia.in. How are you? Hope you people are doing well. Even I am fantastic. Now, in the today's class, we will be discussing question and answers from internal audit. A very simple topic. Basically, students they will be neglecting these chapters like internal audit, management audit, operational audit, due diligence, forensic accounting, investigation. All these chapters they will be neglecting. Other chapters like professional ethics, standards, they'll cover them. So what I'll be doing is, first of all, I'll discuss question and answers from all these small chapters. Okay, and this question and answer discussion, it will be from our question bank. You can purchase our question bank along with audit concise book from the link that I'll be giving it in the description. Okay, now without any waste of time, let us start the question and answer discussion. Question number 1. WWF Limited is a public company having 40 lakhs paid up capital in the previous financial year, which rises to 60 lakhs in the current financial year under audit. The company had turnover of previous 3 consecutive financial years being 49 crores, 145 crores and 150 crores. And during the previous year, WWF Limited borrowed a loan from a public financial institution of 110 crores but squared up 20 crores by the year end. Squared up means it has repaid 20 crores by the year end. And the company does not have any internal audit system. In the view of the management, internal audit system is not mandatory. Now, the question it is related to applicability of the internal audit. Now, to which company's internal audit is applicable? Quickly, I'll give you the diagram. Now, for all listed entities, internal audit is applicable. For all unlisted public entities, you need to check any of these 4 criteria: 25 crore, 50 crore, 100 crore, 200 crore. Okay. Now, public deposits of 25 crore or more, paid up share capital of 50 crore or more, and borrowings from financial institutions of 100 crores or more, and turnover of 200 crores or more. All these you need to check in the previous year. Okay, not the current year. Previous year you need to check, and if any one of these condition is satisfied, internal audit will be applicable. Hope that is clear. And for these borrowings, you have to check not at the end of the year, at any point of time during the year. Okay, any point of time. Hope that is clear. And coming to private companies, you need to check 2 things: 100 crore, 200 crore. 100 crore is borrowings from public financial institution and 200 crore is turnover. Okay, even that you need to check during the previous financial year, and borrowings is at any point of time during the year. Now let us apply this to our question. If you see in our question, our WWF Limited is a public company. They have not said that it is a listed entity, so it will be unlisted public company. You need to check the following criteria if any one of the following criteria is being satisfied. Now what they are saying, first of all, they are speaking about paid up capital. During the previous financial year, paid up capital is 40 lakhs, which rises to 60 lakhs in the current financial year. You should not be concerned with the current financial year. You need to check during the previous financial year. During the previous financial year, it is less than 50 lakh. That means first condition not that 50 lakh criteria not satisfied. Okay, let us see whether other criteria will get satisfied. The company had turnover of the previous 3 consecutive financial years being 49 crores, 145 crores and 150 crores. Even turnover criteria not satisfied. Turnover should be 200 crores or more, right? Even that is not satisfied because it is only 150 crores during the previous year. Next, During the previous year, WWF Limited borrowed a loan from public financial institution of 110 crores, okay, but squared up 20 crores. That means during the year it has borrowed 110 crores. Of these 110 crores, during the year it has repaid 20 crores. That means at the end of the financial year, it is having only 90 crores outstanding. But what I have told you with regard to borrowings you need to check at any point of time during the year, not at the end of the financial year. So at one particular point of time, borrowings of the entity is 110 crore, so 100 crores is being crossed, so internal audit will be applicable to our WWF Limited. That is the conclusion that you can make. So how you need to present this question? First of all, you need to give applicability of internal audit, to which companies internal audit will be applicable. And there is also a particular clause with respect to internal audit in CARO 2020, clause number 14. Okay, now as per clause 14 of CARO 2020, the statutory auditor, he needs to verify whether the internal audit system that has been employed by the entity is incommensurate with the size of the entity, and the statutory auditor should also go through the internal audit report that has been given by the internal auditor during the year. These two has to be reported, whether he has gone through the internal audit report and whether the internal audit system is incommensurate with the size of the entity. These 2 points has to be reported by the statutory auditor as per clause 14 of CORA 2020. And you need to give the conclusion here. In the current situation, the turnover criteria, paid up share capital criteria is not satisfying, but borrowings of the company at any point of time is exceeding 100 crores, so internal audit is mandatory for the company. That you need to conclude here. Hope that is clear. Moving to question number 2. I guess even this question number 2 is with respect to applicability of internal audit. Now if you see, here he has given certain data, and what he is asking you, you are required to evaluate the requirements of Companies Act 2013 regarding the appointment of internal auditors for the group companies. You need to say whether internal auditor is mandatory for which company. We'll start with first company, Adi Limited. It is a listed entity. If it is a listed entity, irrespective of the remaining criteria, it is the internal audit is applicable to the entity. So for Adi Limited, internal audit is applicable. Next, Ajit Limited. Ajit Limited is unlisted company. Okay, so you need to check the remaining criteria. Equity share capital is 60 crores. It is crossing 50 crores. So internal audit is applicable even for Ajit Limited. You need not check the remaining criteria because first criteria itself is satisfied. Next, Nemi Limited is also a unlisted company, and its equity share capital is more than 50 crores. It is 60 crores. So even for Nemi Limited also internal audit is applicable. That you need to conclude. Okay. Again, here also you need to first of all list the provision as per section number 138 of the Companies Act. Internal audit is applicable for sources of companies, and you need to conclude in, you need to give the facts of the present situation, and you need to say whether internal audit is applicable or not. Next, the next question is related to that. Let us see. AB Private Limited company having outstanding loans or borrowings from the banks exceeding 100 crore rupees wants to appoint internal auditor. Please guide him for applicability of the same, and who can be appointed as internal auditor and what work would be reviewed by him. First of all, the first question that they are asking is the borrowings are exceeding 100 crores, so internal audit is mandatory. That you can say. Answer to first question gets completed. Second question, who can be appointed as an internal auditor? See, there is no specific qualification for internal auditor. You can appoint a chartered accountant as an internal auditor. You can appoint a cost accountant as a excuse me. You can appoint a cost auditor as an internal cost accountant as an internal auditor, or any other professional whom the board of director thinks that he is fit to be appointed as an internal auditor. He is having knowledge to do the internal audit. That particular professional can be appointed as internal audit. There is no specific qualification required to be appointed as an internal auditor, that you need to mention. And also, this internal auditor, he can be either employee of the company or some external party. If you see statutory auditor, he cannot be employee of the company, whereas internal auditor can be employee of the company. Those 2 points you need to mention. And which work has to be reviewed by the internal auditor? First of all, internal auditor will review whether the internal controls are working effectively or not, and he will also review the custodianship and proper utilization of assets of the company, whether there is any misutilization of assets, custodianship and safeguarding of assets. Then he will check whether the entity is complying with all the laws, regulations, policies and procedures that have been implemented within the entity, compliance with policies, plans, procedures, regulations. And for the purpose of conducting this internal audit, he will receive various information from the management. He will review whether that information is reliable and relevant or not. So, relevance and reliability of the information. He will also check the organization structure. There is a separate question with respect to this organization structure. How the internal auditor will review the organization structure. Regarding this, there is a question that we will be discussing. Okay, a review of organizational structure, and he will also review how the resources are being utilized within the entity and how the organization is achieving its objectives. Review of accomplishment of goals and objectives. These will be reviewed by the internal auditor. Hope that is clear. Next, you can consider this fourth question as a general question. Webcom Limited, a public company with paid up share capital of 20 crores, has a turnover for the financial year 2021 of 220 crores, okay, exceeding 200 crores. Yes, a recently qualified chartered accountant has been appointed for conducting internal audit. He seeks your advice in drafting a good quality internal audit report. Please guide him by elaborating the essential features of a good internal audit report. Okay, in order to draft a good internal audit report, what are the essential points that needs to be considered by the internal auditor? Let us see. First of all, he needs to keep in mind objectivity. While designing the internal audit report, he needs to state the facts on an objective manner. That means the decisions that the internal auditor takes should be based on facts. He should not show any biasedness while drafting the report. Next, clarity. He should not confuse the readers of the internal audit report. Okay, he should maintain clarity. He should not use any jargons. Okay, as far as practicable, use of technical terms and jargon should be avoided, because these technical terms, they will be understandable only to the people who are in that particular business. Normal general public, they'll not be able to understand those terms. So the internal auditor should maintain clarity and he should not confuse the readers. Accuracy. Now, unlike statutory audit report, in the internal audit report, the internal auditor will present various data. There will be various numbers and data that will be presented. Now, he should take care that the data that is presented in the report is accurate. And conciseness, just like our audit concise book, the internal audit report should be to the point, as concise as possible. Next, constructiveness. The internal audit report should add some value to the user. Okay, that is constructiveness. And readability. Grammar related issues should be checked. And timeliness. The internal audit report should be in a timely manner, issued in a timely manner, because a particular non-compliance or a particular fraud has taken place at a particular point of time, and if it is not found and if it is not reflected in the internal audit report as early as possible, okay, if there is a delay of time in reporting this, then the management they will not be able to prevent this in future. Okay, so the internal audit report should be issued in a timely manner. If it is not issued in a timely manner, then there is no use of issuing it. Okay, next, findings and conclusion. He needs to properly present, the internal auditor needs to properly present the findings and conclusions in the internal audit report. And with respect to those findings, if internal auditor has any recommendations, even those recommendations should be presented. And audit is views. Okay, what are the views of the auditee, that is client, on the points that has been pointed out by the internal auditor and recommendations that have been made by the internal auditor, whether they were useful to them, and what are the results that they have got by using the or implementing the recommendations made by the internal auditor. So auditee's views can also be stated in the report. And in case the internal audit report is very lengthy, you can give a summary of that internal audit report at the end of the report, and you can also present supporting information. And while issuing the final report, you have to first of all prepare a draft report, and you need to properly verify it, and once you are satisfied with it, only then you need to write and issue the final report. And if this question is asked in the examination, it is sufficient if you write 8 to 10 points. Okay, you can write first 8 to 10 points. Next, question number 5. The managing director of X Limited is concerned about high employee attrition rate. Attrition rate means employees are joining and they are leaving within 1 or 2 months, they are leaving. Like this, the employee turnover is very high. The managing director is concerned with this employee attrition rate in his company. As the internal auditor of the company, he requests you to analyze the causes for the same. What could be the causes for this high employee attrition? What factors you would consider in such analysis? Basically, employee attrition can take place because of job stress. Employees are feeling high job stress, and they are not able to find proper work life balance in the company. This could be the one of the reason why there could be high employee attrition rate. Or employees are not liking the policies that are being framed by the management. Even this could be one of the reason. Or employees, they might be not satisfied with the behavior of their senior staff. Senior staff is not behaving properly. Even because of this, you can leave the company, and due to which the employee attrition rate can be very high. Or employees, they might not be satisfied with the monetary benefits that the company is giving to them, that is the salary that the company is giving them, they are not satisfied with it. Or employees are not finding proper growth in the company. Okay, they are not having proper promotion opportunities in the company. Even in this case, they might decide to leave the company. Or they are not the company is not having proper this staff welfare schemes. Okay, labor welfare schemes are not properly there in the company. Even because of this, there could be high employee attrition. Or the safety measures are not there in the working place. In the factory, there are no proper safety measures. Even because of this, employees can leave. So these could be some of the factors. Let us see this. See, job stress and work life balance, wrong policies of the management, unbearable behavior of the senior staff, safety factors, limited opportunities for promotion, low monetary benefits, lack of labor welfare schemes, and whether the organization has properly qualified and experienced personnel for various levels of work. See, if you don't hire proper staff, then the existing staff might feel burden of work. The next point is that only, is the number of people employed at various work sectors excessive or inadequate? Okay, if there are no proper staff in the organization, then the existing employees might feel burden of work, and due to this, they might decide to leave the company. Okay, these 2 points are similar. Does the organization provide facilities for staff training so that employees and workers keep themselves abreast of current techniques and practices? Okay, if proper staff training is not provided, which is relevant for their work, even then they might decide to leave out of the company. These are some of the factors which could cause high employee attrition rate. Okay, basically all these you can remember them, just if you feel that, if you feel the situation, you can easily remember these points. Okay, you just need to think what could cause an employee to move out of the organization, what factors could cause him to move out of the organization. If you think in such manner, you will easily remember them. Next, question number 6. State the important aspects to be considered by the external auditor in the evaluation of internal audit function. See, basically there will be overlapping of the work that the statutory auditor conducts and the internal auditor conducts. There will be some overlapping of the work that these two auditors will perform. So basically statutory auditor, he will be having less time, so he can decide to use the work that has already been conducted by the internal auditor. Now, in deciding whether to use the work of internal auditor or not, what factors can be evaluated by the statutory auditor? First of all, he will see organizational status of the internal auditor, whether internal auditor is employee of the organization or he is some third party, and to whom the internal auditor is reportable, how serious the organization is about the internal audit function within the entity. The external auditor will check this. Okay, because the external auditor can use the work of internal auditor only if he is acting independently. Okay, he can act independently only when he is not employee of the company and he is having proper contact with higher authority in the company. Okay, so this organizational status of the internal auditor will be checked by the external auditor. Next, whether this internal auditor is properly qualified, professional competence of the internal auditor will be checked. Whether this internal auditor is any chartered accountant or any other professional who is properly qualified. If yes, the statutory auditor can rely on the work of this internal auditor. Next, he will also check due professional care. That means how the internal auditor has conducted his work, whether he has followed any standards, whether he has maintained proper documentation, whether he has found any important findings. All this will be considered by the external auditor. And scope of function of internal audit. Okay, what is the scope of internal audit? Okay, which areas have been covered by the internal auditor? Based on this, the statutory auditor will decide whether he can cover other areas which have not been covered by the internal auditor. So even the scope of function of internal audit will be considered by the statutory auditor. So these 4 points he will verify: organizational status of the internal auditor, scope of function, technical competence or professional competence you can call it, and due professional care. Next, appraisal of organization structure. I have told you now there is a question with respect to appraisal of organization structure. Question number 7. Internal auditor makes an appraisal of organization structure to ensure that it is in harmony with the objectives of the entity. Besides checking the financial transactions and operational activities of the entity, elaborate. Now, internal auditor, basically the scope of internal auditor these days has become more wider. He not only focuses on financial transactions. Apart from financial transactions, he also focuses on non-financial aspects within the entity. So as part of this, the internal auditor, he will review the organizational structure, because the entity, in order to achieve its objectives, in order to achieve its goals, the organization structure should help the entity in achieving its objective. So the internal auditor will verify whether the organizational structure is in harmony with the objectives of the entity. So in this, first of all, what the internal auditor will do is he will take the organizational chart and he will see whether this organizational structure is simple and economical. Economical means less cost should be involved in operating the day-to-day activities. The organizational structure should be designed in such a way, whether it is in such a way or not, that will be checked by the auditor. Next, he will also review the manner in which activities of the enterprise are grouped for managerial control. Okay, how various activities within the organization are grouped. Okay, all the marketing functions will be managed by one particular manager. All the sales related functions, sales department will be managed by one manager. So, and which functions will be coming in marketing department, which functions will be coming in sales department, this will be verified by the internal auditor, whether these functions are properly grouped or not. And the second one is that internal auditor will examine the organizational structure through organizational chart. And internal auditor should ensure that there is no overlapping of responsibility. Okay, see, particularly see that responsibilities of managerial staff at headquarters do not overlap with those of chief executive at operating units. Okay, you should fix the responsibility only with one person. There should not be any overlapping of responsibility. The same responsibility you should not give to two people. But in some unavoidable situations, the responsibility is given to two people. Okay, it is mandatory to give responsibility to two or more people in some unavoidable situations. In that cases, you need to fix who will be having primary responsibility and who will be having secondary responsibility. See, where dual responsibilities cannot be avoided, the primary one should be specified and the specific responsibility to each senior fixed. This must be made known to all the concerned. You need to fix who's having primary responsibility, who is having secondary responsibility, and who is responsible for which type of action, that you need to fix in case there is any dual responsibility. And the internal auditor should examine reasonableness of span of control of each executive. Basically, under each executive there will be certain subordinate staff that will be present. So all these subordinate staff, they will be reportable to one particular executive. So basically one executive or one manager, he can control around 10 to 15 subordinate staff. So whether this span of control is reasonable or not, if you fix the responsibility on this executive to control 100 subordinate staff, then it will not be feasible for him. Okay, he cannot control all these 100 staff. So whether the span of control is reasonable or not, even that will be checked by the auditor. And finally, he should evaluate the process of managerial development in the enterprise. Basically, in case of large organizations, they will develop within the existing staff, they will find who will be suitable for higher positions like CFO, CEO. Okay, from the existing junior staff itself, from the existing staff itself, who will be suitable for this higher positions. Okay, how could we train them so that they can be placed at these higher positions. So how this managerial development process is being taking place within the entity, all this will be verified by the internal auditor with respect to organizational structure. Next, question number 8. XYZ Yarns Limited is a manufacturing company engaged in manufacturing of different types of yarns. Its annual turnover is 100 crores and net profit is 10 crores. It has two manufacturing units. Company is facing difficulties in maintaining adequate system of internal control. Company wants to appoint internal auditor who would help in the above task and also various other functions including the compliance. Okay. In view of above, you are required to explain the main responsibility of the internal auditors. What is the main responsibility of the internal auditors? First of all, obviously the internal auditors will be having responsibility to maintain internal control system within the organization. Internal control. Next, the internal auditor is also responsible to operate independently of the accounting staff, because the internal auditor, he will be permanently in the organization itself. because he will verify the day-to-day transactions of the entity. So he will be working closely with the accounting staff. Now, during this period, he should not develop any association with the accounting staff. Okay, he should always work independently of the accounting staff. Okay, next, to observe unusual facts and circumstances and bring them to the notice of the management. The internal auditor, he is responsible to report directly to the management. So during his internal audit, if he finds any unusual facts, he should bring them to the notice of management immediately, and to apprise policies and procedures prevailing in the entity and bring to the notice of management. Okay, in the entity, the management would have established various policies and procedures. The work of the internal auditor is to evaluate those policies, to evaluate whether they are working efficiently, whether we need to make any modifications in the existing policies and procedures. Okay, he needs to apprise those policies and procedures. Okay, and if at all any improvement is required in them, he need to report the same to the management, or if they are working properly, he needs to communicate the same to the management. And to perform his work with independence, as I have already told you, even the work of internal auditor also requires independence, and he needs to associate closely with the management, and his knowledge must be kept up to date by being kept informed about all information and occurrences affecting the business, as well as the changes that made in the business policy. Basically, he needs to closely coordinate with the management. He needs to keep his knowledge about the business up to date, and he needs to inform the management about the latest occurrences that are taking place in the industry. Okay, by this we have completed discussion of question and answers from internal audit. And if you want to purchase audit fast track classes, you can visit our website lecturepedia.in and you can place your order. By this, I'll be winding up this class, and we'll be meeting in the next class with a new chapter. Take care. Bye bye. See you.